Hello, good to have you join us on Nationwide on Africa's largest television network. I am Henry John. President Muhammadu Buhari has made a strong representation to the international community to keep alive the values Nelson Mandela stood for by placing human dignity at the center of their actions. Addressing world leaders at the Nelson Mandela Peace Summit in New York, the president said concerted efforts must also be made towards building a just, peaceful, prosperous, inclusive and fair world. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has details.
Commemorating the centenary of the birth of Nelson Mandela, the Peace Summit culminating in the adoption of a political declaration on global peace in honor of the legacy of Nelson Mandela represents the relaunching of commitment by the international community to peace and security in the world. This is coming at a time of uncertainty and fears about the United Nations capacity for collective action to solve the most pressing global problems such as conflicts, poverty, arms trafficking, climate change, and violent extremism. For President Muhammadu Buhari, it is yet a time of great hope and renaissance.
As Mandela passes into history, we stand with him in his aspirations for a better world. It is our duty to live up to his indelible legacy by collectively holding ourselves accountable to the values and principles for this declaration by striving for a just, peaceful, prosperous, democratic, fair, and inclusive world.
The Nigerian leader said as the world continues to reflect on Nelson Mandela's unwavering advocacy for human rights, social justice, and peace, leaders must rededicate themselves to the service of humanity by championing democracy, conflict resolution, disarmament, reconciliation, mutual respect, and the fight against poverty. He said in the quest to attain peace and development, the world must surely draw inspiration from the life of Nelson Mandela.
Nigeria calls on all states to recognize that the United Nations is built on pillars of peace and security, development and human rights, which are the foundations for our collective well-being, and emphasize that there can be no peace without sustainable development, and no sustainable development without peace and the full respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms for all.
Various speakers at the summit believe that the remarkable legacy of Nelson Mandela not only remains as relevant as ever 5 years after his passing, but represents the light of hope for a world still torn apart by conflicts and suffering.
Through this Peace Summit, the current generation of global leadership is given a wonderful opportunity not only to reflect on peace in the world, but to take these measures necessary to end the wars that continue to take millions of innocent lives.
One of humanity's greatest leaders, Nelson Mandela, they say, represented the values of peace, solidarity, cooperation, and respect for all of human beings, regardless of their political position, skin color, or religious beliefs. From New York, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Africa is exploring innovative ways of funding peacekeeping operations on the continent and cutting over-reliance on the United Nations and other donors. This was part of discussions of the African Peace and Security Council held on the sidelines of the 73rd General Assembly of the United Nations. Foreign Desk correspondent Makut Simon Macham reports.
As Africa continues to work at reducing conflicts on the continent in line with its agenda for silencing guns and promoting peace, the funding of peacekeeping operations and other related responsibilities remain a challenge to the continent. At this meeting on the sidelines of the 73rd United Nations General Assembly in New York, members of the Council are coming up with new ideas.
Because at the moment, again, that was a point made, we're being a bit too dependent on outside partners for our security on the continent. And, we talked about our support also for the African, fund, security fund that is being set up, and for member states to contribute to that fund to give, African countries and the AU the capacity to intervene in conflict and not just wait for outside partners.
The African Union is using every possible avenue to push issues relating to the development of the continent as it engages the world at the 73rd UN General Assembly. From New York in the United States, Makut Simon Macham, NTA News.
Many thanks, Makut. And staying with New York, wife of the president, Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, has emphasized the need for the spouses of African leaders to take more proactive measures in canvassing support and advocacy to effectively tackle the epidemic of HIV/AIDS and addressing other diseases in Africa for improving the general well-being of women and children. Mrs. Buhari said this during the high-level meeting of the African First Ladies against HIV/AIDS at the sideline events of the 73rd session of the United Nations General Assembly. State House correspondent Aliyu Kabir reports.
Stakeholders are on the opinion that HIV/AIDS and other diseases are deflating the active population in Africa that invariably have hindered growth and development. Mothers and children are worst hit as victims of HIV/AIDS by the recent statistics. The 21st high-level conference taking place currently at the sideline event of the 73rd session of the United Nations is seeking to further strengthen ownership and accountability to end AIDS in children and keep mothers alive through eliminating mother-to-child transmission of the scourge in Africa. The meeting, which took place behind closed doors and which was chaired by the Vice President of the Organization of the African First Ladies Against HIV/AIDS and the First Lady of Burkina Faso, Sika Kabore, is meant to cultivate more partnership and advocacy to mobilize resources to end what they called pediatric of AIDS. While struggling to get rid of the epidemic in Africa, the good news is that Nigeria has the least percentage of the burden, which is why the wife of the president, Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, explained that still more needs to be done, especially in creating awareness and sourcing funding.
The countries need to monitor the activities of the agencies that deals with the HIV and AIDS to make sure that the funds that's given to the countries are being utilized for that purpose alone. And also we should have sense of accountability, because like some of the donors are losing hope on agencies and it's becoming a major problem for people that are living with HIV and AIDS.
The overall objective of the meeting is to mobilize African First Ladies and other high-level leadership to contribute meaningfully to ending HIV/AIDS in Africa by 2030.
More awareness, more campaigns. We need more funding to take care of these issues, because without funds we can't do anything.
Excellent. She has set a pace that we're following. She has really been very encouraging. We've been following her footsteps.
Taking into cognizance the magnitude and the dangers of HIV/AIDS within the continent of Africa, the wife of the president emphasized on the need for the spouses of the African leaders to take advantage of this meeting and consolidate on the gains so far in their effort to improving the health and the general well-being of women and children. In New York City, Aliyu Kabir, NTA News.
And it's good, at this point that the president will address the plenary session of the United Nations General Assembly. All NTA stations are advised to link up for the live broadcast. Moving on, Lagos is our first stop on Nationwide as Hingino is standing by to guide us through stories from that zone. It's over to you.
Thank you, ERA, for joining us in Lagos. The Joint Task Force to clear the traffic gridlock in Apapa is yet to commence the clearing of idle trucks on the roads and bridges, which have been inhibiting free flow of traffic to the nation's ports after its deadline to non-compliant drivers expired over the weekend. Dotun Oguyemi has been monitoring the situation and now reports.
Looking at between now and weekend, what is clear is that anybody that is on that road will not allow you to stay there. It's either you are proceeding to the port with permits, you are being inspected, or we have to send you back.
That was the position of the task force chairman, Commodore Okon Eyo, on Wednesday last week at yet another stakeholders meeting called to resolve a problem that has refused to go away. The chairman said the articulated vehicles are now to park at holding bays while they are processed and issued with queue cards by terminal operators and the Nigerian Ports Authority. He said security agents will check the queue cards and idle tankers and containers will be removed. That was supposed to have been with effect from Monday this week. However, nothing seems to have changed. As at the time we visited the Apapa-Oshodi Expressway, long queues are still evident from the Sonya end of the road all the way to the Apapa ports, leaving one access road along the service lane. These truck drivers were only concerned about one thing: how to return to their homes, as their presence on the roads has had severe implications.
Line no move. Everybody just stay here for nothing. They sleep here, they eat here, they bath here, something. You don't tire anybody.
The blockage of the main carriageway by the trucks causes heavy traffic daily, and so some private and commercial buses and motorcycles have resorted to driving against traffic, with their consequences such as accidents leading to loss of lives.
4 people died for this one yesterday because of this one way. They're supposed to take action.
The question on everyone's lips remains when this problem will end in Lagos. Dotun Oguyemi, NTA News.
Legal practitioners have been enjoined to continue to uphold the rule of law as the 2019 general elections draw near. The Catholic Archbishop of the Metropolitan of Lagos, Most Reverend Alfred Adewale Martins, gave the advice at an event organized to mark New Legal Year in Lagos. Diana Ajale's report is presented.
This special Mass by the Catholic Lawyers Lagos Archdiocese is an annual event with the objective to bring members of the association together to enable them appreciate God for a successful legal year. The Archbishop of the Metropolitan See of Lagos, who commended the efforts of the Catholic lawyers, urged the professionals to apply the professional expertise in the propagation of peace and entrenchment of human rights.
They need to ensure that wherever there are inconsistencies in the law, they should pay attention to it and point them out. And wherever there is a threat to the rule of law or threat to the good order of society, they should pay attention to it.
Some members of the association spoke on the relevance of the spiritual moment.
We try to promote the tenets of justice, and we do so by dividing it up into helping the needy, especially those who are not able to afford legal services yet need it for the justice of the case.
The outgoing president, Geraldine Way, charged all the incoming executives to abide by the constitution of the association.
You have to have a passion for this association. You have to have a passion for the work that is involved, to know that we are standing between the people and God.
We have a lot of lawyers who are volunteers who are going to take up these issues, and I think by the grace of God we shall live up to expectation.
The new legal year service was established with a view to providing pro bono legal services to prison inmates, give charity to the less privileged, and equip members with updated skills that will add value to the legal profession.
The Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi Lamido, says the education sector is critical to the socio-economic development of the nation. Emir Sanusi was speaking at a lecture to mark the Founders' Day of King's College, Lagos. Jen Ojuku has the report.
The education sector has over the years been riddled with various challenges, key among them inadequate funding, poor infrastructure and inadequate qualified teachers. The Emir, who spoke on the title Reforming Education, an Imperative for National Development, suggested that Nigeria should borrow a leaf from countries like Norway, which has a robust education system.
When you're told that Norway has one of the best educational systems in the world, or Sweden, or Denmark, this is what they pay primary school teachers. They're earning better than their ministers. Now, the second point, why would you spend ₦1 trillion on petroleum subsidy when education and public health are underfunded?
Minister of Education Adamu, represented by the Director of Basic Education, Jonathan Mbaka, stated that the federal government has been making huge investments in education, but added that efforts by private sector and good-spirited individuals are welcome, as government alone cannot fund education.
There are so many things that have gone wrong over the years, and government has to tackle each and every one of them. And if you look at what government is spending on education, is actually very high.
Principal King's College Lagos, Kolawole Isaac, commended the efforts of parents and the old boys of the school for their contributions towards bridging the infrastructural gap in the college. King's College Lagos was established in 1909 with a vision of grooming young Nigerian boys into future leaders. In Lagos, Jane Ojukwu, NTA News.
Northeast Children Trust Orphanage holds Guardian and Cultural Day. Naomi, in our Maiduguri Network Center, is standing by for details of this and more.
Hengino and welcome to Maiduguri. The Northeast Children Trust Orphanage, inaugurated last year by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, has been applauded for the standard and quality of education imparted on the pupils. This came to the fore when Borno State Deputy Governor Usman Mamman Durkwa attended the Guardians and Cultural Day ceremony of the school. Jesse Tafida reports.
The orphanage was well equipped with all necessary facilities to train the children on various skills and disciplines. While making observations on the performance of pupils of the school, Borno State Deputy Governor Usman Mamman, who led dignitaries to attend the occasion, was full of praises for Vice President Yemi Osinbajo for setting the school in Maiduguri being the epicenter of Boko Haram crisis as a way of restoring the education sector. He appealed to other well-meaning Nigerians to emulate the good example set by the Vice President to assist the orphans and less privileged across the country for a better tomorrow. Director of the school, Baba Kachella, and the school head, Strategy Administration, Dipe Kilaka Pindipe, said the Guardians and Cultural Day ceremony was purposely organized to showcase the talent of the pupils and the knowledge they have acquired within the short period of establishing the school, as well as the general well-being of the students to their guardians. In Maiduguri, Jesse Tafida, NTA News.
Ensuring the safety of lives and property, as well as punishment of offenders, form part of major responsibilities of the Nigerian police. Borno State Commissioner of Police Damian Chukwu stated this while briefing the press on adoption of Borno State APC Chairman's son at the police headquarters, Maiduguri. Jedwa John Jesseny reports.
Borno State Commissioner of Police recalled on the 2 kidnapping cases which incorporated the sons of APC state and local government chairman Ali Bukal Dalori and Ibrahim Mohammed, describing it as a sign of danger in this season of political activities. The commissioner revealed that members of the syndicate have been apprehended and that investigations are ongoing to ensure that other accomplices are punished accordingly. CP Damian Chukwu further appealed to the press and Nigerian Union of Teachers to educate and sensitize parents and teachers on safety tips to keep their children away from abductors.
I want you to help us to properly disseminate this so that we will have a better and more peaceful electionary season.
He also assured the public of redeploying security personnel to schools as well as political office aspirants across the state capital. In Maiduguri, Jadwa John Jesseny, NTA News.
Residents of Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, have expressed concern over the total blackout being experienced for the past 4 days, affecting their social and economic activities. Abubakar Muhammad Musa has a situation report.
This is the second time in 1 month that Maiduguri metropolis and its environs are experiencing power outage for many days at a stretch. The situation is a common phenomenon, thereby affecting electricity power supply to Borno on a sustained basis, mostly associated with collapse of the grid or major repair along the distribution chain. Cross-section of business operators interviewed lamented on the total blackout, which they said have continued to affect their daily earnings as they depend on the generator for power supply. According to them, alternative sources of power are expensive to maintain and takes away profit in their businesses. Residents, on the other hand, complained of the power interruption despite their payment of electricity bills on a monthly basis, mostly on estimation. The residents say conditions are unbearable as heat and mosquitoes prevent them from getting good sleep with no power supply for days and no information from suppliers on reason for the outage. Reacting to the issue, Area Manager, Yerwa Distribution Company, Zainab Hassan, said the power outage is not only peculiar to Maiduguri, but the whole northeast region.
Major problem of the 330 from Bauchi Gombe, which has affected also most of the northeast region since Saturday.
She said already a team of engineers have erected the faulty cable in Damboa town and will mobilize resources for repairs soon. In Maiduguri, Abubakar Muhammad Musa, NTA News.
That's it from Maiduguri. Is back to Nyare in Abuja. Good afternoon.
Many thanks, Naomi. And if you just joined us, this is Nationwide on Africa's largest television network, NTA. Let's take a break. More stories when we return. Hey. Glad to have you back. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says the present administration will not play down the role of the nation's past leaders in its resolve to build a prosperous nation. Professor Yemi Osinbajo stated this while declaring open a photo exhibition as part of activities lined up to commemorate Nigeria's 58th independence in Abuja. Anthony Forson reports.
The photo exhibition has as its theme the footprints of Nigeria's political leaders, showcasing Nigeria's history from pre-colonial era till date, as well as Nigeria's rich cultural heritage. It is in line with this that Vice President Yemi Osinbajo applauded the wisdom and courage of the nation's past leaders, saying they are remembered as heroes whose common ideology gave Nigeria its pride of place.
We clearly saw the strength of the Nigerian resolve to build a nation and the valiant attempts of the leadership at state building. We've not always excelled. We've not always done as well as we could. But that is not the story. The story is that we have never lacked the courage and the will and the resolve to keep trying, and to do so at each turn with even greater resolve and greater commitment.
And as a nation, he said, looking back into history should not determine the future, given some of its dark moments.
I'm pleased to say, on behalf of the Nigerian government and the Nigerian people, that we have chosen to say that our history will not determine our future. Our history is the least that we can ever be. Our future is much greater. Our history is only the precursor to a greater Nigeria, to a Nigeria that's prosperous, united, and where all of us are treated fairly and justly. Our history is only the beginning of that great Nigerian story.
Convener and Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, said the exhibition is to remind Nigerians, especially the young generation, the role of these past leaders in the Nigerian story.
It also serves as a poignant reminder and appreciation of the labors of our heroes past. For those who are not old enough to have witnessed Nigeria's independence in 1960, they can at least look at the pictures of pre-independence Nigeria at the handing over ceremony of the colonial masters to the Nigerian leaders to have an idea of how things were and the hopes for a bright future ahead.
There were goodwill messages from some of the ambassadors present. Highlight of the exhibition was the presentation of prizes to winners of an arts exhibition, which was for the students to draw the portrait of President Muhammadu Buhari. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Nigeria and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia are evolving new strategies aimed at deepening ties between the two countries and mobilizing global effort to combat extremism and terrorism. This was further stressed at the commemoration of the 88th Saudi National Day in Abuja. Ado Adamu Aso reports.
It was another time for the diplomatic community in Nigeria to congratulate one of their own, Saudi Arabia, as it marks 88th National Day in Abuja. The ambassador of Saudi Arabia to Nigeria, Fahad bin Abdulaziz, used the event to highlight the importance of the 88th National Day to the kingdom at this time where massive reforms are being implemented to fit into the Vision 2030 that seeks to open and change narratives about the country. He particularly acknowledged the strategic partnership between Nigeria and Saudi Arabia, which predate formal diplomatic tie in 1960.
Relation between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which was established in 1960 and based on the common interest of two countries. We look forward to more cooperation in this and all fields.
Nigerian Minister of State Foreign Affairs is quick to emphasize the growing collaboration in fighting terrorism and corruption as championed by President Buhari and King Salman.
We will work very closely with the ambassador and other staff of the mission to ensure that things do work out smoothly and the working relationship that exists waxes stronger.
Nigeria and Saudi have strong religious and economic ties since the Trans-Saharan era. In Abuja, Ado Adamu Also, NTA News.
And it's now time to take another break. Nationwide returns in a bit. To stay. Many thanks for staying. A coalition of civil society organizations on sustainable development is throwing its weight behind the call on the National Assembly to fast-track the passage of the National Water Resources Bill for its pending imminent benefits to manifest. This was at a roundtable discourse in Abuja on the bill before the National Assembly. Musbao Dan Wahab reports that the theme of the event is towards safe, adequate and sustainable water supply services and sanitation for Nigerian people.
Countdown to the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals SDGs targets is 3 years gone by. The job is cut out for Nigeria like the rest of the world, with 169 targets to achieve under the 17 goals of the SDGs. But as it has been agreed globally, this coalition also believes the Goal 6, which is water and sanitation, is a reflective of the whole SDG framework with palpable positive impact on all the other goals.
How do you talk about sustainable development without water? This is an essential resource that should be at the heart of policy making.
But then, for the goal to be attained in Nigeria, the federal government has continued to put measures in place. Central amongst them is the National Water Resources Bill, already passed by the House of Representatives, waiting for the Senate's concurrence. Unlike the misconception about the objectives of the bill, the coalition says the bill, if passed, will coordinate the management of surface and groundwater resources, economic development, social welfare, and environmental sustainability.
The Senate, taking a cue from the House of Representatives that has passed it into law with due consultation with stakeholders, should know that passing the bill into law is for the benefit of all Nigerians towards effective, efficient, and sustainable water resources management and contributing to the realization of the SDGs.
The National Water Resources Bill when passed, will be a ground legislation for all water-related bodies already in existence, while also taking into consideration latest developments in the sector. In Abuja, Musbah and Wahab, NT News.
Many thanks, Musbah. And it's now time to talk politics, and the focus is on youth participation. Kemi in our Ibadan studios has details.
Thank you, Larry, and welcome to Ibadan. The Speaker of your State House of Assembly, Olagunju Ojo, has formally announced his defection and 2 other legislators to the All Progressives Congress, APC. Speaker of your State House of Assembly announced his defection and that of some members of the House from one party to another. The Speaker, Olagunju Ojo, Solomon Akonde, representing Ogbomoso South State Constituency, and Wumi Oladiji, representing Ogbomoso North State Constituency, defected from Labour Party to the ruling party, All Progressives Congress, APC. Gbenga Oyekola from Labour to African Democratic Congress, ADC, while Akim Ige and Fatai Adesina moved from Accord to ADC. Peter Oyetunji from Labour to PDP. Earlier, the Chairman Committee on Information, Joshua Yebamiji, has also defected to APC. There are 16 APC legislators out of the 32 members of the Oyo State House of Assembly. Nigerian youths have been encouraged to participate in line with the Not Too Young to Run bill passed by the National Assembly. The clarion call was at a forum organized for young Nigerians who have the intention to run for elective positions in the country. Kayode Oladoshu completes the story.
The gathering comprises youth across the southwest part of the country with a notion to provide a viable platform for them to analyze various challenges Nigerian youth are facing, especially those that have ambition for elective offices.
The major challenge we are facing as youth is finance to be able to run our campaign.
But youths generally must come together and be involved in politics in their numbers.
We need to design a Nigerian for ourselves that we believe we want to live in.
To this end, the youth, through their active participation in the political system of the country, will bring an avenue to strengthen their social responsibility in nation building. In Ibadan, Kayode Oladoshu, NTA News.
The need to raise the living standard of Nigerians and place the country on path of socioeconomic progress has been emphasized. This was the outcome of the monthly seminar organized by the Nigerian Institute of Social and Economic Research, NISA, in Ibadan. Correspondent Shola Wahid reports.
Speaking on the topic, socio-economic impacts of development blueprints in Nigeria from 1999 to 2015, Dr. Andrew Onwemele stressed the need for government to have a development plan that will enhance socio-economic transformation of the nation to compete favorably with developed countries of the world.
What are the needs of Nigerians and how do we incorporate this into our development blueprints so that a governor or a local government chairman will not be focusing on just infrastructure when there are other critical needs at the household level.
There's obviously that disconnect between the political class, the people who are going to implement these policies, the private sector, and even the public. So you need more collaboration between all those stakeholders.
A plan of how to lift the people from poverty, even how to advance the people to the standard of developed countries.
When there's security of life and property, then development can take place.
Director General NISA represented says the institute is saddled with the responsibility of conducting research and providing consultancy services to government in the field of economic and social development. Is living up to expectation. Participants at the seminar say government should initiate development planning committee and incorporate relevant stakeholders across the tiers of government for effective implementation of policies and projects for national development. In Ibadan, Shola Wahid, NTA News.
And that's it from Ibadan. It's back to you, Larry.
Many thanks, Kemi, for the update from that zone. You're watching Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. Another break beckons. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Turko Buratai, has restated his warning on soldiers and officers to remain apolitical as a special court-martial has been set up to try defaulters. The Army Chief gave the warning at the 2018 Combined Second and Third Quarter Conference in Abuja. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa has details.
It is yet another periodic platform that provides an avenue for principal staff officers, corps, operational and general officers commanding to review their logistics, administrative and operational activities within the last quarter. This appraisal is expected to guide the Nigerian Army in making informed projections towards efficiency in its constitutional mandate, particularly the ongoing internal security operations in different political zones.
The developing security situation across the country and the need to provide safer enabling environment for the 2019 general elections further call for our collective brainstorming to effectively and efficiently address these challenges.
To further fortify and complement the nation's defense arrangement, 17th Brigade was established in Katsina, a forward operation base in Ekpe, Lagos State, and a cyber warfare command to exploit cyber warfare dimension.
As professional soldiers, none of us should be sympathetic to any political, religious, or ethnic cause. Any personnel of the Nigerian Army who is interested in politics, as I mentioned much earlier, should voluntarily retire from the Nigerian Army to pursue his or her political passion.
He urged operational commanders to maintain synergy with other security agencies to address security threats across the country. In Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
And away from security, now talking business, Nigeria is working towards reducing the cost of shipping business from about 30 to 35% so as to make the ports competitive. This was made known at the Sept Regional Workshop and Joint Standing Committee meeting of the Union of African Shippers Council in Abuja. Oyinaya Kalu-Walker reports.
Do you know Nigeria today, without even being at war, we are paying what they call war commission charges on shipping. It has affected us professionally. We have also lost in terms of shipping development in Nigeria.
Tales of lamentations by these shippers who have been in the business for more than 25 years. Nigeria is listed as one of the countries in West Africa with the highest cost of shipping. With delegates from about 19 countries, the meeting is looking at ways of restoring costs, inefficiency and delay of cargoes in the region.
Cost must be related to services that are going to be rendered. Nigerian Shippers Council is negotiating with shipping companies. By the time we are through with the MOU, you'll see drastic reduction.
Minister of Transportation Chibike Rotimi Amechi said Nigeria is the only country in Africa not on the trade platform, which facilitates clearing of cargo within 24 hours. He called on delegates to look at the issues of World Trade Organization, trade facilitation agreements, and port operations that will promote trade in West Africa.
The government of Nigeria has made remarkable progress in trade support, infrastructure development through reforms in the maritime sector. We're establishing inland dry ports and truck transit parks in several locations across the country to bring shipping closer to service users in the hinterlands.
The meeting is also focusing on issues bordering on cargo destined for landlocked countries, which has capacity to boost trade. Oyinaya Kalu-Walker, NTA News.
And that's our package on Nationwide today. Many thanks for investing your time with us.